I'm Chris Hansen, right now on Crime Watch Daily from here in New York. A single mom walking to the bus stop
didn't appear to have any enemies in the world.
is suddenly executed in broad daylight after a contentious divorce.
He owed her like $10,000.
Detectives look at not only her angry ex, they look at her new man too.
Was there any question that maybe your mom's new boyfriend could have done this?
But as Michelle Sagona uncovers, this is not at all what it looks like.
The eyewitnesses on the scene described the shooter
as a woman.
Then he went shopping for pet supplies. Then John Terry mysteriously vanished. His car found abandoned. Was he murdered? Was he kidnapped? Or did he make himself disappear?
It doesn't add up when you talk about motive.
From blood spatter on his front door to strange clues in his car.
It looked like it had been shuffled around almost intentionally.
Like the crime scene was staged?
Yes.
And then this photo emerges. A man who's a dead ringer for John, spotted in Mexico. Our Jason Matera on the case with the ex-wife police want to interview.
Since this will probably come up when you talk to them, I don't feel bad asking you.
Right now,
Andrea Isemser with Crime Watch Daily.
Jason Matera with Crime Watch Daily.
this
I'm Elizabeth. I'm here with Crime Watch.
I'm Michelle from Crime Watch Daily.
Anna Garcia from Crime Watch.
is Crime Watch Daily.
Stay off my property. We'll find you again. We always do.
Welcome to Crime Watch Daily, everyone. I'm Chris Hansen. First up today, a Maryland mother kisses her son goodbye and is innocently walking down the street when she's cut down in a hail of bullets. Michelle Sagona has more on the investigation that went from random robbery to calculated killing.
She was just going down the street, a quick walk to the bus stop.
She was only out of her apartment for, maybe a minute or even less.
In broad daylight, on a public street, in a neighborhood, basically a public execution.
A random attack?
Those are the types of murders that really, scare people, scare them to death.
Or was it an assassination?
It's fury, it's revenge.
Why did this hardworking mother of one have to die?
It is almost like something you would see in a TV script.
A piece of cake, a pair of boots, a woman's handbag in the middle of the road. Artifacts marking the spot where 49-year-old Prita Gaba lost her life. But who was she and why the violent end?
Her name was Prita Gaba. She was an immigrant from India, a very sort of well-liked, hardworking immigrant. Her big goal in life was for her son Lim to go farther than she went.
He was her only son and she his only parent.
At what point did your dad pass away?
He passed away, it was when I was around, I would say, maybe 14 or 15.
What happened?
He just had a liver disease and it was because of too much drinking.
After that, it was just Lim and his mom struggling to make ends meet in India.
It was hard for her, she used to work all the time. And we were living alone, just it was me and my mother.
And she wanted to make a better life for you.
Yes.
Then suddenly it seemed like that better life might be within reach. Prita met a new man, a successful man.
He was a biostatistician. He made great money, and he had a PhD in biostatistics.
His name was Baldeo Taneja, and after the death of Prita's first husband, the father of two seemed to provide some much-needed stability. Baldeo and Prita married soon after the meeting.
Was he like a father to you?
Yes, that's how I looked at him.
A good father, a stable provider, and the promise of a truly new beginning.
Baldeo was already sort of halfway in the United States. He was going back and forth. He had a business here. So he moves to the U.S. And Prita and Lim stayed in India. Their goal was to follow him to the U.S. and start a new life there.
But for Prita and Lim, it would be a dream delayed. Baldeo would spend the next 3 years getting settled with his sons before calling for his bride.
During that time, is he keeping in contact with your mom?
Yes, they would talk all the time.
But then Lim says that during one summer trip to the States, before he moved here officially, he visited Baldeo at home and found his mom's spot occupied by another woman.
She was living in the same house.
As him.
Yes.
Her name was Ruminder Kaur, and as soon as Lim got back to India, he told his mom. Then, not long after that, Lim says Preeta finally made the move from India into her cheating husband's home. And one of the first things she did in the States?
She says, we're done. We're getting a divorce.
Yes.
Does he let her go willingly?
No.
Things became extremely tumultuous. They began divorce proceedings, and during those proceedings, he engaged in the strangest behavior, doing things like he put up a dry wall in the apartment so that she could only access certain areas that he wanted her to access.
How big is this wall?
It basically covers the whole door to enter the second bedroom.
But no wall could block out the consequences of Baldeo's infidelity. Once the divorce finalized, a judge orders him to pay Preeta alimony.
How much money was she receiving?
She was getting $2,200 each month.
And he wasn't happy about that.
No, he wasn't.
There were several emails back and forth that were showed the hostility between the two of them. And he once wrote an email to her that was pretty much said, "You do not deserve to be a parasite on me for financial support."
Not that he couldn't afford his payments.
I would say he was making maybe 100K plus K a year.
He definitely had the funds to support your mother.
Yes.
But Preeta stood strong for Lim, for herself. Soon, she and Lim moved to a new apartment in Germantown, Maryland, and it seemed Baldeo had moved on as well.
Baldeo and his new girlfriend, who became wife, they moved to Nashville, Tennessee.
A new life for all involved, but how long would it last? 7:45 a.m. a Saturday morning, a day off for most, but not for Preeta or her son.
So that morning I was supposed to go to work, and she was leaving for work too, but she had to leave earlier.
She packs herself a lunch, then says her goodbyes to Lim.
So I got into the shower. Next thing, and I come out of the shower, I get dressed, and I hear somebody knocking on the door.
It was the police. The news was grim.
And they asked me, "Do you hear any gunshots?" And I respond, "No," and then they tell me, "Have a seat." And that's when they show me my mother's license, and they're like, "Do you know this woman?"
Just a few hundred feet away from their apartment, Preeta Gaba lay dying in the street.
She walked out the door and was about to cross the street and then head to the bus stop. And it was right when she was about to cross the street that someone approached her and shot her 3 times.
This is basically right outside where you live.
Yes. We walk out, and all I see is her stuff on the street, in the middle of the street, her bag, umbrella. And next thing, then I get in an officer's car, and he takes me to the hospital.
Once there, Lim receives the most crushing news of his life. His loving mother doesn't make it.
I knew that it's just me now. I had to be on my own. No family, nobody.
But who did it, and why Preeta?
So this is an absolutely wonderful woman who didn't appear to have any enemies in the world. This was not somebody who was involved in any kind of nefarious criminal activity, so you'd have some type of explanation for why someone would do this to her.
Detectives talk to Lim, and right away he tells them about the contentious divorce between his mom and Baldeo, as well as some still unpaid alimony.
He owed her like $10,000. He didn't make payments for a few months. But I still remember that when I was talking to the detective, he said that owing somebody $10,000 is a good reason to kill somebody.
But then Baldeo was living 600 miles away in Nashville. And not only that,
The eyewitnesses on the scene described the shooter as what?
As a woman,
coming up,
one woman falls and the other woman takes off.
the investigation begins, and the surveillance video that changes everything.
We called them the Mrs. and the Mr. Gun.
Now back to today's murder mystery in Maryland. Here's Michelle Segona.
Chris, Preeta Gaba was a single mom working hard to take care of her only son. And it was right here in Maryland where she came face to face with a killer.
After his father died when he was 15, it was just Lim and his mom, Prita. Then, 3 shots on a Saturday morning took away the only family he had left.
You lost your dad and you lost your mom, and you are here in America by yourself.
Yes, I had to be on my own.
So who did it and why? In the hours following Prita's murder, Lim tells detectives about the contentious divorce she had gone through with her ex-husband Baldeo, a man who still owed her $10,000 in alimony payments. But he lived 600 miles away in Nashville with his new wife, Raminder. So cops start looking a little closer to home.
So was your mom dating anyone?
Yes, at the time she was.
And was there any question that maybe your mom's new boyfriend could have done this?
They asked me everything about him too.
Police do question the boyfriend, but he's cleared of suspicion. And as it turns out, he doesn't fit the description of who they're looking for anyway. The description given to them by eyewitnesses to the murder.
The eyewitnesses on the scene described the shooter as what?
As a woman. One of them heard shots and looked up and saw what she thought were 2 women. And then one woman falls and the other woman takes off.
The witnesses also described the shooter as wearing a long wig. Either way, there was only one woman in Prita's life with whom she'd ever had a problem. Raminder Kaur, her ex-husband's new wife.
Prita and Raminder, did Prita know what she looked like?
They had seen each other once, and they had a confrontation one time during the pendency of the divorce.
In fact, she may be referring to an incident involving both Raminder and Baldeo.
They had spied on Prita Gaba in the past during the divorce while it was pending, and Baldeo had used Raminder to be the person to follow her around a Walmart store. And they were texting back and forth while Raminder was spying on her and telling him what she was doing.
And Lim confirms his mom knew about it. Police were curious enough to start making some calls around Raminder and Baldeo's hometown.
They could tell that Prita died, from a revolver, and they just sort of randomly started calling gun shops in the Nashville area. One of them just got lucky. It was one of the first shops. They called, and the guy, he just recalled, yeah, I sold that guy Baldeo a gun, and yeah, his wife came in.
And the store owner had more than just his word to back it up. This surveillance video, which clearly shows both Baldeo and his wife Raminder shopping for guns.
They end up buying 2 revolvers, one sort of a normal size and one a snub-nose revolver.
We called them the Mrs. and the Mr. gun.
It was too suspicious to be ignored. So less than 2 days after Prita's murder, authorities in Maryland decide to pay Baldeo and Raminder a visit in Nashville.
They had gotten to their house, and I think they were trying to decide whether they were going to go in the house or not. And then all of a sudden, the couple comes driving up.
Baldeo and Raminder tell police they're just coming back from a work conference in Washington, D.C., but their luggage says otherwise.
In the car, we found 2 guns, 2 wigs, and 2 hoodie sweatshirts.
Not exactly business attire. The weapons were later found to be the very same Mr. and Mrs. guns Baldeo and Raminder were seen buying on that surveillance video. And when it came to Mrs. Gunn,
the gun that was used in this homicide was recovered from their vehicle in the original packaging underneath some articles of clothing.
So they're brought back to Maryland. They're formally charged here.
That's correct. With first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder and use of a handgun in a crime of violence.
At any point were either of them offered a plea?
No.
As far as authorities are concerned, they have the couple dead to rights. But Baldeo and Raminder insist that at the time of the murder, they were at that work conference in D.C. And when police check it out, they find that in fact they were. So what gives?
They came here on Friday, spent the night Friday, committed the murder Saturday, pretended to attend a conference downtown for about a minute and a half, which was, I think, just a complete...
A minute and a half.
Well, literally it was a ruse. If they were there 15 minutes, that may be the maximum amount of time. They literally traveled 600 miles to go to something for about 15 minutes.
They were just trying to establish their alibi.
100%.
And that's exactly what the prosecution would argue at trial. That and a whole lot more, thanks to a GPS device found in the couple's car.
This is the case of 600 miles of premeditation. I mean, there actually was evidence that suggests they had been up here the week before. They had traveled the additional 600 miles just to make sure that when this thing went down the following week, when they set up the alibi to go to the conference in Washington, D.C., they did a surveillance run.
Though both Baldeo and Reminder are tried together, they're not exactly a united front.
Baldeo Tanasia tried to blame it on Reminder Kaur's son. There just was no evidence of that at all. And then Reminder's attorney actually tried to say that some young woman that Baldeo worked with was the shooter because she, I guess, was Indian and matched the description of the shooter to a certain degree. We found that woman, we found out who she was, and we brought her to court and had her testify, and it was absolutely clear that she had nothing to do with this.
So then, if it was Baldeo and Reminder who actually pulled the trigger?
The prosecutors kept making the point to the jurors that if they both planned this, they both went to the neighborhood, one of them was in the car parked nearby and the other one was the shooter. We don't need to tell you who the shooter is. They're both guilty.
And the jury agreed. Though neither Baldeo or Reminder took the stand, the jury felt they had heard enough.
They were each convicted of first-degree murder. They were also convicted of conspiracy to commit murder and use of a handgun in a commission of a crime of violence. They each got a sentence of life.
Case closed, story over? Not exactly. Reminder appeals the verdict, arguing that her attorney never let her take the stand in the first place, and that she had a story that would turn the entire case on its head.
What she was asserting was that during the trial, as they're going back and forth to the jail every night, her husband's next to her, they're in their chains or whatever, and he's taunting his wife, and he said, I drugged you, and when you were passed out, I slipped up to my ex-wife's neighborhood, and I put a blouse on and a wig, and I disguised myself as you, and you're going to go down for this.
It's a claim too outrageous to ignore, and shockingly, Reminder got her new trial. But when it finally came time to share her incredible story,
she didn't take the stand. We were all waiting for this big moment.
That's like criminal in itself.
Well, it definitely upset the prosecutor.
It was a fraud on the court for them to petition for a new trial. It was a disgrace they had a new trial, and it was, and the result is we basically had a retrial of the first trial again, and she was convicted again.
Guilty again, along with her husband Baldeo, for the cold-blooded slaying of Prita Gaba. But why? So much didn't make sense.
He wasn't involved in killing Prita to stop the alimony payments because he was almost done with them. He just had a little bit more to go. So I think the motivation was more, years of bitterness and anger. They were both very angry about this, and together they came up with this horrible idea to kill Prita.
Leaving a son without his mother. Lim is now 25 years old and trying to fulfill his mother's dream of a better life for her son, going to college full-time while also maintaining a steady job. Once a week, he visits his mother's grave, and he says that even though he no longer has any living ties to this country, because his mom is buried here in Maryland, he can never go back home again.
Is there a message to the people who did this to your mom?
I just told them that I hope both of them rot in prison for the rest of their lives.
Prosecutors say the quick thinking of the officers in this case was huge in getting a conviction. Had the couple been able to get rid of the murder weapons, this case could have gone unsolved. Coming up, a single father goes to the store to buy pet food, then vanishes.
It's so hard because I keep thinking about the boys. They're so lost and they don't understand.
He had no known enemies. So who would want John Terry to disappear? Crime Watch Daily helping piece together the mystery in Texas, starting with his ex-wife.
What do you think happened to John?
That's next. Now to a Texas-sized mystery an hour south of Dallas. A loving father leaves work, runs a few errands, then disappears. Our Jason Matera is joining in the hunt to find him, and he's with us now in the city of Hillsborough.
Chris, John Terry was a devoted father for his two young boys, and he worked hard to support them. So when he went missing, his family immediately knew something was wrong. He's the loving single father of 2 young boys.
He lived for those boys.
A highly valued employee.
Always did what he was told, just gave it 100%.
A guy without an enemy in the world.
We haven't found anybody that he had any problems with.
No one.
No one.
So who in the world would want to get rid of John Terry?
It's so hard because I keep thinking about the boys. They're so lost and they don't understand.
Today, he's a man at the center of a baffling mystery. Basically, his last hours alive could have been buying pet food at Walmart.
Yes.
And April Stoll is the intrepid investigator who spends every day sifting through the evidence to find just who or what is behind his disappearance.
I took the case file and started at page 1.
Is it murder?
The blood spatter was located here.
Or could it be that John Terry made himself disappear? It starts as a typical beginning of the weekend for John Terry in Hillsboro, Texas. He leaves work on Friday and does some routine shopping. You can even watch along on a store surveillance tape at Walmart during what may be his last hours alive.
We see him pull into Walmart. He goes in, he buys a bag of dog food, a bag of cat food.
This is the last time that John is seen publicly, right? Is this after Walmart, you just lose track of him?
This is the last time that he is seen alive.
And from that point until this day, everything about John Terry is shrouded in mystery. The next day, his abandoned Jeep is reported to police by a road crew working a pipeline on a remote dirt road about 20 miles from his house.
Well, I think it's significant that the keys were still in the ignition, the windows were rolled down, his cigarettes were in the passenger seat, the cell phone was in the back seat, the cat and dog food was in the back seat.
What about his wallet?
No, there was no wallet in the vehicle.
And for investigator Stoll, the car itself is a hotbed of unanswered riddles.
There was also loose paperwork in the cup holder area. Just the way that it was positioned, it looked like it had been shuffled around almost intentionally.
Like what, the crime scene was staged?
Yes, things moved around to give a deceptive appearance.
And that's not all cops are thinking. Do you think John drove his car to that road?
No.
So if John Terry didn't drive his car to where it was found, who did and why? Police say you have to go back to the remote cabin where John was living. That's where they believe he went after leaving the Walmart straight home. What they don't know is if he ever made it past his own front door.
The exterior of the door, they did locate some small areas of blood spatter, and those were collected. Other than that, there was nothing that appeared out of the ordinary.
And where was the blood spatter?
Right here where the letters are. We have A and D up here, and B and C down below. Once it was collected using the swabs, it absorbed all of the sample.
You're waiting for the DNA results. If it comes back that it was in fact John Terry's blood, what does that mean?
That's pretty indicative of something violent happening out at his house.
Something violent? Like murder? With the killer possibly driving off in John's car and leaving it on that dirt road 20 miles away.
If you're gonna hurt somebody, you have many areas out here where you could hide the body and then take the vehicle and, as a diversion, take it somewhere else far away and make it look like he never made it home that night.
A search of the area yields no body, and investigators begin retracing John Terry's last few days. They learn that his 2 young children are with their mother, John's ex-wife Rachel, for the weekend.
It was Mom's weekend with the boys. She picked up the boys from school.
Police say Rachel and her live-in significant other, Stephen Oberly, last saw John earlier on the same day he disappeared. They stopped by his job to pick up overnight bags for the kids.
Stephen was in the car, he never got out of the car. It was noted that Stephen and John may have waved at each other, but they never had any kind of face-to-face exchange.
Rachel was interviewed by police shortly after John Terry went missing, but investigator Stoll says she has a few more questions. In fact, there's a long list of people investigators would like to question. One of them, a person John reportedly had an appointment with to buy a new bed.
John had made a Facebook post the evening before he disappeared, and he said, "I'm getting my new bed tomorrow. I'm tired of sleeping on this cattle guard." But nobody can tell us where he was getting the bed from.
Investigator Stoll says something about it doesn't feel right.
It doesn't add up when you talk about motive.
Yeah, who kills somebody over a bed, right? Unless it was a straight up robbery.
So if you have free reign and access and your motive is robbery, and you're in a secluded area, why don't you take everything you can?
But for a guy who didn't seem to have any enemies, there are certainly a lot of different theories about who wanted him to disappear. Friends and family say John Terry had recently ended a relationship with a girlfriend.
Anyone that would raise a red flag, someone who just turned out to be just bat crazy.
One girl that he had went to school with, that he had known for a better portion of his life. Don't know if you'd call her bat crazy or not, but I believe they just tried to mingle and it didn't work.
And then there's this, the most incredible possibility of all, a picture submitted on a missing persons information website of a man taken near Tijuana, Mexico, not long after John vanished. He's a dead ringer for John, and the frightening description that comes with it sure seems to fit. He needs to go back to America. He needs help. He is going to end up dead on the street. I asked him his name. He replied his name was John.
There were several people who had seen that photograph and started commenting about it.
Next, new investigators are anxious to talk to John Terry's ex-wife, Rachel. But Crime Watch Daily gets to her first.
Since this will probably come up when you talk to them, I don't feel bad asking you.
Okay.
And we get right to the point.
I just want to ask you flat out, you, Rachel, had nothing to do with John Terry's disappearance.
John Terry is gone, disappeared from the face of the earth. But cops may be closing in on what happened.
My gut tells me it's going to be a homicide case. I really believe that. Things just don't add up for him just to fall off the face of the earth like he did.
Police are anxiously awaiting DNA test results from his car and his blood-spattered front door. One theory? The culprit is someone connected with selling him a bed.
What would cause someone to kill someone because they bought a bed? So it's interesting that he made the Facebook post in the first place and then there's no bed.
Not only that, investigator Stoll says what was found in John Terry's car suggests that there may be more than just one suspect.
That is a possibility, 2 suspects, and you have a third one driving another vehicle, following along, because whoever drove John's Jeep had to get a ride at some point to go home.
And cops have probed deeper into that chilling look-alike picture from Mexico.
The family was able to get in touch with some distant friends that were able to obtain better photographs of the man.
Unfortunately, those photos led to a dead end.
We were able to confirm by looking at it that that was not John.
And now police have a short list of people they want to talk to.
We're still looking at people that he was communicating with at that time.
And close to the top, John Terry's ex-wife, Rachel.
Rachel on the list?
Yes.
Raising questions? John's cell phone. Cops claim his records show John didn't talk to his ex-wife much. But that changed the final weeks leading up to his disappearance.
And we start seeing 10 minutes, 11 minutes, 15 minutes. And in between those, we're seeing 1 hour. And there were 2 phone calls that were at least an hour or just under an hour. That's something we're going to be asking because that is a possibility, that suddenly something's gone wrong in her life or his life and they're having a conversation about it.
To be clear, Rachel has not been named as a suspect or person of interest in this case, and cops may not be ready to interview her just yet. But she agreed to talk to Crime Watch Daily in a first-time exclusive interview for television.
Hey, Rachel.
Hi.
Jason Matera, nice to meet you. Thanks for doing this interview.
And yes, we asked her about those long phone calls she had with John shortly before he disappeared.
According to investigators, they say, leading up to John's disappearance, that there was an unusually high volume of calls between you and him. Why the high volume of calls?
I mean, it's been 2.5 years, so I don't really recall, but I know some of those were probably between me and my children. You know, they would ask him, can I call Mom?
Again, we approach this interview as we believe any detective might down the road, and that means we put it all on the table.
I just want to ask you flat out, you, Rachel, had nothing to do with John Terry's disappearance?
Absolutely not.
Do you know who did?
I have absolutely no clue. I wish I did.
So let's say one of the working theories is who stands to benefit?
Mm-hmm.
And say, well, John's out of the picture, you get full custody of the kids, you no longer have to pay child support, you no longer have to drive an hour and a half to drop them off, pick them up. How would you respond?
I would respond by saying that's a ridiculous theory. Who kills somebody over an hour and a half drive to pick up their kids from their dad who they love? And who kills somebody over $200 a month? I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. I would never do something so ridiculous.
Rachel remembers the last time she saw John.
He seemed normal.
In good spirits?
Mm-hmm. Nothing suspicious, nothing strange. Came out from work, gave the boys a hug and a kiss, told them that they'd be back on Sunday, and he didn't, seem any different.
And one theory Rachel heard about is unlike anything we've ever heard from anyone, including family, friends, or police.
Somebody had said something about, finding meth or something in his house. And so sometimes I wonder, did he get involved with somebody with that drug? Did he owe him money? That's really the only thing I can think of.
Rachel hopes this interview will help solve the mystery surrounding her missing ex and the father of her 2 young sons.
It's still sad, I hate to think of anything that he may have gone through. I hate thinking that we may never see him again. I think back on, all the years, and it's just hard to think that he may not be here anymore.
And so now Rachel Terry and a few other people will soon face detectives with questions of their own. And maybe some questions they never saw coming if what investigator Stoll says is any indication.
There will be a lot more interviews. We do have some other things that are at the lab that, right now I'm going to keep those under wraps. But it's there, and I strongly believe that when the results come in, we will likely narrow this down substantially.
And investigator April Stoll? Well, you can always find her in the same place from where she hopes to eventually crack this case. In the evidence room.
Finding John, bringing him home, that needs to be done.